Hey guys, happy Halloween. And today, to celebrate Halloween and to celebrate the 14th Doctor coming in either now or soon, this is being recorded before Power of the Daleks airs, but in celebration of the incoming 14th Doctor, I thought we would look at 14 Doctor Who stories that are perfect to be watched on Halloween. 14 stories that really suit Halloween. Now, these aren't necessarily the 14 scariest Doctor Who stories of all time, because Lord, those would be hard to come up with. But 14 stories that seem Halloween appropriate for one reason or another. And these aren't ranked from worst to best. These are just the stories as I wrote them down as I thought of them. So at number 14, we have Knock Knock, which of course I believe is from series 10. Now, I've only watched Knock Knock once, and I thought it was okay. The ending is a little anticlimactic and disappointing, but it does kind of have the suspense thing going, basically the house swallowing people. It has a good build to it. I liked the episode basically up until the ending when everybody lived. I'm like, this is Doctor Who. Not everybody's supposed to live, not like this. I did like the fact it had that one actor in it who plays the Agatha Christie with Poirot. Is that how you say his name? Like Hercules Poirot or Hercules Poirot. I know he was also in that really bad Wing Commander movie. It has him in it. I like him, so that's cool. I need to give it a rewatch at some point, and I did enjoy it up to the ending. It does have the way it's shot has a nice atmospheric and kind of creepy tone to it, whereas you almost think the house is swallowing people. And I do think that's a good way to start the list. It's not what I call a great story, but it does feel like a Halloween-appropriate story. Next on the list is State of Decay, my favorite season 18 story. Now, I don't know if I call State of Decay scary like other stories in Doctor Who are, but it's still really good. Of course, it does have the vampires in it, so it ties in with Halloween. It has that gothic look to it. Feels like it would slot right in like the Hinchcliffe era, in season 13 or 14. But I like how there's also a scientific backdrop with the castle being the spaceship and them, being astronauts. But how it ties in with the King Vampire. It does a nice job kind of expanding on the Time Lord lore where they fought the vampires back in the day with the great bow ships. That's pretty cool. It's good performances. I know some people criticize Tom Baker's performance in it. I think he's doing fine in it. I enjoy him in it. It has a couple effects that aren't realized well, like the Vampire King and his demise. But I think the three vampires, the big three in it, I think they're realized well. They have a very theatrical approach to their acting, which works for me in this. And then their death scene is phenomenally done. That's impressive. Even by modern Who standards, I think that's impressive. For classic Who, it's very impressive. It's a fun one. It has a lot of good moments, and again, kind of ties in, I think, with the Halloween feel, even if it's not what I necessarily call scary very often. A couple times, maybe. Still a really good story. Next on the list is The Empty Child. Now, this was creepy. This has so many creepy moments. Once again, Moffat taking something normal like basically a child and turning it into something creepy and scary and unnerving. Moffat is phenomenal at that, and he does that here. I mean, the kid does a good job. Mommy, Mommy. It's shot well, it's acted well, it's done well. When you see the Dr. Constantine turn into one of them, and the whole scene leading up to it when he's like, physical injuries is plague. That whole conversation is well done. Everything going on there, the fact this is all happening right in the middle of the Blitz. So you have that fear factor, and you have, the Germans running around. They're scary enough on their own. The girl being chained up with the one soldier who's obviously changing. It has a lot of tension and suspense and a phenomenal ending. It is one of those endings where everybody lives and it feels like it's earned. The nanites is actually built into the story really well, as they're also part of the cause of the problem and part of the solution. It's a really good story, really well written, really well acted. It's just phenomenal. I absolutely love The Empty Child and the Doctor dances, and it's definitely a phenomenal Halloween story. Next on the list is The Curse of Fenrik. Again, this one has a creepy vibe to it in places. It is quite possibly McCoy's best story. It is definitely the quintessential McCoy story for me. because he is kind of pulling the strings in ways, whereas Fenrik is also pulling strings. The Doctor's pulling even more strings. But I like how they come up with the vampires, even though they don't call them vampires, the hemivores. They're basically vampires, but they have that kind of crustaceous look to them, which is really good makeup. It's done well. And how they can turn people into vampires, basically. The girls do a good job once they turn and they're all creepy. Come play with us. I wouldn't have gone anywhere near that water. And you just know it's not going to end well for that soldier. And then you see, like, all of the girls that get turned at one point, like toward the end, when, you know, they bust in and you see all that group of girls and they're screeching, screaming to get out, and then the next time you see them, they're all vampires too. I'm like, man, got all of them except for Ace's grandmother, which is a nice, again, this does a really good job of developing Ace as a character, which I like. And basically the Doctor puts her through some mess in this, especially when he's like, hey, kill her, I don't care, whatever. Just a girl. I just had her with me because I knew you were responsible. The showdown between him and Fenrik, the professor playing Fenrik is good. The soldier playing Fenrik is good. The soldier playing the soldier is also good. I really like him, the guy playing the soldier that gets possessed. He does a good job. I don't know. I just really like Curse of Fenrik. It has a creepy, scary, high stakes feel to it that's perfect for Halloween. And next on the list is Blink. Blink is phenomenal. I mean, Blink, I know some people think it's overrated. I don't. I feel like it deserves all of its praise. It's a phenomenal story. It's one of those rare times where having the Doctor not in the story much works. And it's phenomenal. And Carrie does a great job as Sally Sparrow. The guy playing the main guy and her friend's brother is okay. But I like this. I like the DVD setup. The fact that the Doctor, that's the only way he can help is with the DVD stuff. I love the concept of the Weeping Angels, and they're never executed quite as good as they are here. They've still been in other good episodes. The Flesh and Stone two-parter I thought was good. And even Village of the Angels has moments. If it wasn't tied into Flux, it would be a lot better if it was a standalone. But they're at their peak here. It's such an ingenious concept. And the way it's shot, you know, is it every statue? No, but it could be any statue. You know, kind of paraphrasing the Veshnarada there. You know, the fact that any statue could be one of these things, it's creepier. You'll never look at a statue the same way again. So it's pretty neat. And then the little sound effect when they move, the way they're shot, the director of this story did a really good job, the way they're shot and the way they're designed, and then their backstory. Blink is just a fantastic story to watch on Halloween late at night with the lights out, by yourself or curled up on the couch, behind the sofa even maybe, with someone else. Next on the list is the Talons of Wing Chiang. Again, this one has that kind of gothic feel to it. A lot of it takes place at night. I enjoy the night shooting. I like the mystery of what's going on. I love Magnus Grill as a character. He has this very Phantom of the Opera feel to him, which I like. His outfit looks creepy, is where you can judge just by his hands. Dude's messed up, and you can buy that and how he describes about how his time travel hadn't been perfected, that he's messed up. And then when we actually see his face briefly, that's a really good makeup effect. The way they did his face to make it look like it was just melted and twisted and warped. That was a really impressive makeup effect, especially for Classic Who. Really shocking moment. I love Tom Baker's outfit, that Sherlock Holmes outfit. I think the guy playing Chin does a really good job. I think he treats the role with respect and pulls it off well. It has that bit of Fu Manchu stuff going on to it, but that was normal for the time, so I'm not going to criticize it for that. I enjoyed the giant rat. For me, I was always fine with the puppet, but I do kind of prefer the CGI one a little better. I like the idea of the kind of killer doll that's got like pig innards and stuff in it. It is a perfect storm of good ideas. It's Robert Holmes, after all. And again, the way it's shot gives it this kind of spooky, atmospheric feel. A lot of it's done at night. I love the location work. I love the scenes in the sewers. And the fact that it ties in with Jack the Ripper. Again, Talons just seems like a really good fit for a Halloween rewatch. Plus the fact it's a Robert Holmes story. Next on the list is the Brain of Morbius, going to season 13. Again, this is basically Doctor Who's take on Frankenstein. Frankenstein, of course, is a staple of Halloween. That seems like a good fit. It has like I've mentioned before, it has a good atmosphere to it. Seems very fitting for Halloween. I love learning that there's another Time Lord, kind of like the Master, that's kind of reviled to the point where the Time Lords actually executed this one. So I get the impression in his heyday he was like worse than the Master, at least the classic Master, before the Master somehow destroyed Gallifrey, and then it's so stupid. But I do like that. I do wish Morbius's outfit was a little better realized. It's okay, but I do wish it was a little better realized. But Tom Baker's dialogue in this and Elizabeth Sladen's dialogue in this is really, really good, and their interplay with each other is good. I think the old woman and the sister of Khan does a good job. I think Solomon, the guy who's working on, the guy who's basically playing Victor von Frankenstein, I think the actor playing him does a really good job. It's a good story. It is a really good story, like all of season 13. Next on the list is Ghostlight. I shouldn't have to explain Ghostlight. It deserves to be on this list just because of its atmosphere. I've mentioned that a lot, but if there's any story on this list where atmosphere really sells it, it's this one. This Ghostlight just has a feel to it, unlike any other Doctor Who story. There is just some kind of feel and tone it has to it that's just creepy. Even if you can't follow the story, which is understandable, it's Ghostlight. There's something about the way they're acting, the way it's lit, the way the lighting works in that mansion, and then the script itself, how it all wraps together to just create something that feels off. Almost like looking at a picture that's tilted slightly. There's something off about it. And I like the fact McCoy doesn't really wear his hat. I don't know why, but for some reason him not having his hat and being in that dark jacket adds to the tension. It's great, again, character development for Ace, but there's just something about that story that's spooky and doesn't feel like anything else in Doctor Who, and definitely deserves to be on the list. You don't want to watch Ghostlight late at night alone by yourself, because you'll still be trying to figure out what the heck's going on in Ghostlight while looking over your shoulder. Next on the list, and this might surprise people actually, is the God Complex. Now, I'm not a big fan of the God Complex because I think the story is rubbish. But I've talked before about how it's executed really well, and it is directed phenomenally. From the actors performing their lines to the way it is shot, the camera angles used, the lighting. It's almost like whoever did it is a big Stanley Kubrick fan, because it does give this hotel this sense of being, again, off slightly. Much like how Ghostlight's kind of off, it's off. There's something unnerving and unnatural about the camera shots used. It feels like it fits really well on Halloween. I mean, we even have it's almost like having a Minotaur in a maze thing going on. But what it's doing to people and how it's converting them is creepy. But it's the way it's shot that unnerves me. There's always something that feels off kilter in a lot of the camera shots, much like The Shining. I think that's done really well and would make this a good Halloween watch, even if it's not a story I'm necessarily fond of. Number 5 on the list is Midnight. Now, Midnight is objectively a phenomenal story. I have a couple issues with it, but that's more just because I wish it had come later and not in Series 4. But Midnight is also very unnerving. That scene when the tapping's happening all around it, the 3 knocks, and then the Doctor knocks 4 times, and it knocks 4 times, and it builds and builds and builds until it hits in that wall and knocks everything over. It has this nice build to it. Escalation, oh! It just jumps out at you. That's a really well done scene. And then the actress playing Skye, pre-possession and post-possession, she does a really good job at that. She's very unnerving, especially once she's possessed. And seeing the Doctor in this situation where even he's out of his depth, he doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know what he's dealing with. This is one of those rare times pre-Whittaker where you really see the Doctor out of his depth and behind. Usually he's either right with what's going on or not much behind or ahead of the situation. He seems very behind what's going on here as the situation is escalating. Like instead of, it goes from her repeating everybody to her repeating him to her talking the same time with him to where she's ahead of him to where he's pretty much possessed. And it does a good job of exploring the dangers of paranoia as everyone else, gets paranoid and scared and seeing them develop that mob mentality against him. And how even the doctor doesn't save the day, the stewardess has to save him because he is quite literally impaired and at a loss and can't do anything at that point. So it's an interesting take where someone else has to save the doctor because he is so out of his depth. And the fact that pretty much the whole episode is a bottle episode in this little cargo area. The atmosphere of it is well done. The lighting is well done. It's well written. It's well acted. It's well directed. It's well shot. And the lighting is well done. It's just a perfect storm of everything coming together the way it needs to. And the fact that we still don't know quite what the entity is. I like the fact that it doesn't explain that. That just adds to why Midnight is phenomenal. It's the fact we don't know. Even at the end of it, you don't know. Even the doctor does not know. Just this thing that can do this kind of damage and then possess someone and then take them over like that. To this day, we have no idea what that thing was. And I never want to know. That's part of what makes Midnight so good, is it's something we don't know as the audience to add to the mystery and creep factor of it. And even the doctor is in the dark. We usually don't see a pre-Whitaker doctor this in the dark and this at a loss. And I enjoy that. It's a phenomenally well-made episode. Perfect for Halloween. Number 4 on the list, and this one had to be on here. It is the quintessential, I think, classic Doctor Who horror story, and that is Horror of Fang Rock, which is phenomenal. Horror of Fang Rock is kind of the classic version of Midnight. It is done so well. Again, they're isolated at night on a lighthouse with no way out, and at one point they lock it in with them. I think thought I locked it out, but I've locked it in with us. Such a good line that I'm paraphrasing there. It again is well shot, well acted. Even some of the guest characters you develop feeling for one way or another. Like the guy who's basically the first one to die, I really liked him. I thought he was a good one. Whereas in the woman, I was happy when she died because she's annoying. She just screams in a panic. Again, this is a Doctor Who story that tells you that the Doctor can't save everyone. He's not perfect because all of the guest cast die. All of the Doctor and Leela are the only ones who make it out. Everybody else dies. I do enjoy the cast, though. The kind of richy, uppity guy is really good at making you not like him, which he should be. I really like the older guy, the kind of veteran fisherman, because he's cool when he's playing the veteran fisherman, but at one point, the actor's also playing the Rutan disguised as him. And he does a good job at both parts, especially when he's the Rutan, slowly learning how to act more human while still not quite getting it right. He does a good job with that. And I believe he's also an enemy of the world, the actor playing him. He does a really good job playing that character. The only couple weak points is a couple of the model shots are a little dated because it was made in the 70s. So if it ever got upgraded effects, I really think that would polish it off and make it a 10 out of 10. It is a phenomenal story, the best story of season 15. It uses its horror effects well, like that glowing green light you see is done in such a way that it's creepy and scary. And again, this one has an atmosphere and a tension. And as you see people slowly dying, sometimes because of their own greed, like the one guy stopping to reach down and get the diamond is what got him killed. People's own personal motivations get them killed a lot in this story. There's a lesson there. And then seeing the Rutan. I love the fact that Rutan is not even remotely human. It can look human, but it's not human. It's nice to see the Sontarans enemy and how it's so different than the Sontarans even. I'd like to see the Rutans come back in the modern show. I think they could be executed really well. Yeah, Horror of Fang Rock is a classic for a reason. It is phenomenal horror, and it is a must-watch if you're doing a Halloween Doctor Who watch. A must-watch. Next on the list is Pyramids of Mars. Another one, quite possibly the best one-off villain Doctor Who has ever had. I love Sutekh. The choice to make Sutekh's voice so soft is perfect. It's the opposite of Omega. Sutekh doesn't have to boom his voice because he knows how deadly and dangerous he is and evil he is. And the fact that he considers the Doctor basically a cockroach. And the only reason he loses is because he considers the Doctor so insignificant that he doesn't bother with him after he gets what he wants. Again, well shot, well acted. I love the guy playing the professor once he's possessed. He has this, well, dead look to him with the makeup and his acting. The scene when the one guy gets killed, when he puts his hands on his shoulder, you know, I am his servant, he needs no other, and you see the smoke rising from it. It's a heck of a cliffhanger. The only nitpick I have is that the mummies don't look too good. They look very robotic, which they are, and it shows. That's my only nitpick. I wish they looked a little more humanoid. But other than that, it's phenomenal. I love Pyramids of Mars. Again, Doctor Who's take on the mummy legend, while bringing in, you know, a dangerous Egyptian god. Doctor Who horror at its finest. It is a phenomenal piece of Doctor Who in the best season Doctor Who ever put out. Next on the list is The Seeds of Doom, which is kind of like Doctor Who's version of The Thing before the 1982 version of The Thing. This is a really good story. I do prefer the first half a little over the second half, but it's still phenomenal work. The idea of a plant that can possess people, you know, and basically turn them into itself. It absorbs them. That's pretty cool. The idea where the vegetation eats the animal life. Especially, I love the reuse of the axon design. I always think of it more as a crinoid design because I saw Seeds of Doom first. Especially that early form of it, like in the first two episodes, when it still looks vaguely humanoid. That is creepy. That is the stuff of nightmares, when it still looks vaguely humanoid. The full-grown version of it doesn't quite work. I'll admit that's a little bit of a letdown toward the end when it's the size of a building. Doesn't quite work. But the performances are good. The guy playing Scorby is phenomenal. I like him. Scorby's fantastic in this. You just love to hate him. The guy playing Chase overacts a bit, but he is kind of off his rocker, so it works. My biggest nitpick is that the little blade thing where he dices people up, after it dices people up, there's never blood on the blades like there should be. I don't know why, but that drives me nuts. I love the scenes in the Arctic. And when you see the guys who are working out there, I think all of the actors playing them do really well. Even if they aren't in it very long, they do a good job. This episode has a lot of the Fourth Doctor and Sarah, a lot of interplay with them, which I find adorable. You know, it's next to the house that John built. They have a lot of little moments together I like. And the Fourth Doctor has some good dialogue, like when he rescues Sarah. What do you do for an encore, Doctor? I win. And then the fact the Fourth Doctor gets so annoyed with Scorby sometimes. Scorby! And like when he keeps trying to explain to the other guys working there that it's not Charles anymore, "There is no Charles" line. I love when Doctor Who gets that, when the Fourth Doctor kind of gets that anger in his voice at times. There is no Charles. I love that, trying to get it through to them that their friend is gone. And again, I just like the snark in this. All right, Doctor, turn around slowly. And he does the 360 turn. Talk. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart had perfect pitch. What happened to him? Who? Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart? Oh, him. Oh, he died. It's just a perfect storm of stuff coming together. It has humor. It has good character development. The Doctor and Sarah are great together. And it definitely has the scares and the horror design. And Seeds of Doom is one of the best Doctor Who stories. It's phenomenal. And the number one on the list, which if I was ranking these would be number one on the list, is The Unquiet Bed. This is, I think, is the scariest episode of Doctor Who ever made, because I have trouble sitting through it. I think I've only watched it 2 or 3 times. It just unnerves me. I don't know what it is. The guy playing Charles Dickens is great in this. And again, this is like the 3rd episode of Doctor Who, so it's early in the run, but man, is it creepy. I think it all boils down to the zombies. They're done really well. I'm just going to call them zombies. The way the makeup makes them look, the sounds they make, the little blue glow around them, and the way they move, because the actors playing them, they move in a very unnatural way, like a zombie or something possessed that's a dead body would. It does a really good job of that. That makes it extremely unnerving. Like when you see the old woman when Dickens is reciting, it would look something like that, and you see her face. It's a creepy episode when the Doctor is locked in that little cage with Rose and they're all trying to reach through at him, that shot of them reaching in. You know, this strikes me as these aren't actors in makeup. These are reanimated things trying to kill you. So it unnerves me. I have trouble watching it, so it has to be on this list, and it has to be number one on this list. This is the one I would not watch on Halloween at 1 o'clock in the morning with the light out by myself. I won't do it. It's just me. So I want to know what you think of this list, or any others you might add in, or which ones you like best. So comment down below and let me know, because I always enjoy hearing from you guys. Other things to do: click the like button and the subscribe button and the bell for notifications, so you never miss out on another video. I also have a Patreon if you like what I do and would like to contribute to what I do. There's a link to that down in the description below. I want to give a shout out to two of my top tier patrons, Stephen and Colin. I appreciate their continued support, as I do the support of all of my patrons. And don't forget other fun things down there, link to the Amazon wish list, the P.O. box if there's anything you'd like to send for me to review. Most importantly, happy Halloween, and thank you for watching.